What is up and welcome back. We are your Colorado real estate family, and in this video right here, what we're going to be doing is talking about Colorado Springs versus Denver. If you're trying to pick and choose between the two, we're going to go over a few items that might help you decide which place is best for you. The first thing that we are going to be covering is that cost of living. What is the cost of living in Colorado Springs as compared to Denver, Colorado? When we do this cost of living, what we do is we use a cost of living index where 100 is your national average. If it's higher than that, it's more expensive. And if it's below that, then obviously it's cheaper than your national average. Unfortunately, majority of these are going to be higher than your national average because Colorado has become a little bit more expensive since so many people have flocked here in the early 2010s. But there are a few that are below the national average. So which ones are those? If we're talking about your overall number, Colorado Springs sits at a 110.3, where if we compare to Denver, Denver is a 127.6. So Denver is definitely more expensive when we are talking about that cost of living index overall as compared to Colorado Springs. Let's break into it a little bit though and see which items are cheaper or more expensive in Colorado Springs and Denver. First one we're going to talk about is your food and groceries. Food and groceries is going to be more expensive in Denver as compared to Colorado Springs. In Denver, you're looking at a 101.4. If we compare that to Colorado Springs is a 98.4. So, just a little bit cheaper in regards to your food and groceries in Colorado Springs as compared to Denver. Next, let's talk about your health. Health is always, when we're looking at this, cheaper than majority of the nation. When we are talking about your healthcare costs, over in Denver, you're looking at an 83.9. Down in Colorado Springs, you're looking at an 82.6. So a little bit cheaper in regards to that healthcare when we are talking about this cost of living. There's something funny to note though. When we break into the jobs portion of this, what are the top employers in these two areas and which one has more healthcare than it seems like the other does? The final cost of living I'm going to be going over is your housing. When we talk about this housing number, we're talking about the cost to purchase and or rent in the Denver and Colorado Springs area. If we're looking at the cost of living index, Denver is at a 183.1. If we look down in Colorado Springs, it's a 140.9. Definitely much cheaper in regards to housing. And a few years back, before Colorado Springs really got super popular, this number was even lower for Colorado Springs. A lot of people were choosing to live down there because the cost of living when purchasing a house was so much cheaper. The second thing that we're going to be breaking into is pretty much the size and I'd say location. We all pretty much know where Denver's at, right? Denver's, the capital of Colorado, pretty centrally located and all that stuff. But where is Colorado Springs if you've never really experienced it or looked up on a map where Colorado Springs is? Colorado Springs, you're looking at about an hour, hour and a half, depending on traffic, because they have been doing a lot of road construction on I-25 going south into Colorado Springs. That gives you a good gist of, all right, say you have to commute into Denver and you want to live in Colorado Springs or whatever, how long it's going to take you in order to drive up there in the mornings or in the afternoons when you're coming home. Another thing that I want to talk about is when we're talking about the size of these two cities. Now, quick note on that is Denver, pretty much Denver County is actually smaller in population as compared to El Paso County, which is where Colorado Springs is located. But if we are talking about the population of just the city, Colorado Springs has a population of 492,000 people, and that is up 2.46% since 2020. What is Denver looking like with this population? Denver has a little bit more than 717,000 people in population in the city of Denver. Just a quick note on that. This is not the Denver Metro. This is just the city of Denver. And that is down 0.6% since 2020. Colorado Springs is growing so much faster than Denver right now, so much so that they are projecting that Colorado Springs will overtake Denver in regards to population by the year 2050. It's crazy to think that city is growing so fast that they're eventually going to have a higher population, if projections stay true, than Denver, Colorado. We are talking about a lot of military population as well too. You got Fort Carson down there, you got Peterson Air Force Base, you've got the Air Force Academy all down there. It is highly congested in military. So another quick note on that when we are talking about the population in Colorado Springs. Now let's go ahead and break into those real estate numbers. Why is that cost of living index for housing so much higher in Denver as compared to Colorado Springs? Let's look at your median sales prices overall first. So we're lumping in your single family with your attached products into one number. Colorado Springs, you got a median sales price of $430,000. Where Denver, you got a median sales price of $544,000. So it's crazy to think that the purchase of a house in Denver, according to this median sales price, is going to be much higher in Denver as opposed to Colorado Springs. Let's break that down even further because there's some interesting numbers here when we start breaking into your attached. Your single family housing though, if we're looking at that median sales price, Colorado Springs is $445,000, whereas Denver is $635,000. So that's almost a $200,000 difference from your single family housing in Denver as compared to Colorado Springs. Now here's the number I was talking about with your attached. What does that attached look like for your median sales price in Colorado Springs? You got a median sales price of $342,000, whereas in Denver, you have a median sales price of $350,000. Not that much difference. The biggest difference when we're talking about purchasing real estate in these two cities is going to be that single family product. Let's break into the fourth thing, and I kind of want to talk about the different jobs that are in these two areas, kind of the top employers. Now it's crazy, when I was looking this up, Colorado Springs actually broke it down into public and then also private sector employers. And when we do this, because I feel like it's pretty known that a lot of these governments or the public school systems and stuff like that seems to always be those top employers when we are talking about these areas. So I kind of left a few of those out. So let's kind of talk about Colorado Springs, your public employment that we're looking at down there. The top one is going to be Fort Carson. And then we look at Lockheed Martin is also going to be one of your top employers over there when we're talking about your public employers. And then UC Health is another big one that is down in Colorado Springs. Let's break over to the private sector when we are talking about Colorado Springs. You're looking at Sharewell Software. You're also looking at Cheyenne Mountain Conference Resorts, which is, it's just, big tourist town. That might be a big reason why that is one of the top employers. And then the third one that I listed in this private sector is Cobham Semiconductor Solutions. Hopefully I said that right. Even though the semiconductor is considered more manufacturing, it's crazy to think that, in my mind, it goes along with the whole tech side of things that two of the private ones down in Colorado Springs are going to be more of your tech and technology based. When we talk about Denver, so one of those top employers is the University of Colorado Systems. So this is essentially just between the 4 campuses for CU that we do have in Colorado. It's going to be the employment for those universities. Centura Health is another one of those. Again, here's where we're going to break into that healthcare. And then Health One and SEL Health Systems. So it's crazy to see that 3 of the top employers that are within the Denver metro area are going to be more your healthcare based jobs. We have a ton of them here. It doesn't matter where you go. You have a great hospital system near you, whether you're choosing like Northern Denver or South Denver. You always have that great hospital system to go to within the metro area. The fifth thing I want to cover is kind of the demographics, because you're planning on moving to these areas. You're like, all right, what am I going to be around in regards to like age, or even if you're talking about like kind of your belief systems in these different areas. And so according to Politico.com, when we look at this, all the previous elections, Denver is super progressive, and this is something, like I said, we don't ever sit here and take sides on any side of an issue, but it's good to note that, Denver is going to be much more progressive, whereas when we're talking about Colorado Springs, it's definitely more moderate. It seems like it's more half and half. That is what we are seeing in Colorado Springs. All of this is according to Politico.com. Another thing that's interesting on these demographics, and actually when I looked at this, I didn't think it was right, because I personally thought that Colorado Springs, due to the military system that they have down there, would be a little bit younger, but they're almost about level. They're about the exact same when we are talking about the age demographics in these two areas. The median age in Colorado Springs is 34.7, where the median age in Denver is 34.6. So that's a 0.1 difference in regards to the age. So when we're talking about the ages in these two different areas, it's going to be pretty damn similar. These numbers are according to datacommons.com, just taking it straight from that site, throwing you what we're seeing in regards to that median age in the two areas. Last but not least, we are going to be covering kind of the top school districts in these two areas and where they rate. We always go off of niche.com when we are talking about these. Disclaimer on that, if you are looking at niche.com, make sure you do dive into the map. That way you see the gradings for each of the individual schools. That's what we always recommend when we are talking to you guys about schools. So first, let's cover Colorado Springs. I cannot remember these by the top of my head, so I got my notes right here. So Colorado Springs School District number 11, which is going to be your main one in the central portion of Colorado Springs, is going to be rated a B. Then if we break over into Cheyenne Mountain School District number 12, that one is rated an A+. The third one is going to be your Academy School District number 20. That is going to be rated an A. Now let's break up into Denver, the top school districts up there. The biggest one's going to be is your Denver Public Schools. That is also rated a B, similar to your Colorado Springs School District. And then the last one that we kind of want to throw in, because there are so many school districts in the Denver metro area, we're trying to keep as to the heart of Denver as possible, is going to be your Cherry Creek School District. That is going to also be rated an A. So it's good to know. Like I said, we always recommend go and look at those maps, see where the schools are rated depending on the area that you are looking at moving into. That way you get a good idea of what the school systems look like in the area. All right, cool guys. So glad I got to bring in this information. Like I said, there's so many times that we talk to you and you're like, you know what? I'm considering Denver, but then I'm also kind of considering Colorado Springs. Hopefully this gives you a good comparison, kind of side-by-side, apples to apples, on what you're looking at in each of these different areas. If you do have any other questions in regards to these areas, do not hesitate to reach out. Or if you are planning on calling one of these areas your home, give us a call or text that phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time. If you're not quite ready to make the move, follow us along so you get the latest information hit in Colorado. by smashing the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, notification bell, that way you're notified every single time that we put out a brand new video. Till next time, we love you.